Hello and welcome to this video on numerical reasoning for employability produced by York's Math Skills Centre. The Math Skills Centre at York is here for a number of reasons, and one of those is to help you improve your numerical reasoning test scores. But you can also use the centre for appointments. So these are bookable one-to-one sessions where you can go over a particular maths or stats topic that you're struggling with, including, as we mentioned, numerical reasoning. And we also have some online resources on our VLE, including some Helm workbooks, which we always recommend you use for self-study. If you have any questions, you can email this address, or you can Google Math Skills Centre York and go to our website. Now, the most useful thing we can recommend you do to prepare for numerical reasoning test is make sure you register at AssessmentDay.co.uk. If you put in /York in the URL, like you see in this link here, you'll be taken to a members area where you sign up with your York login details and you'll get access to additional practice tests with detailed solutions. Another great feature of AssessmentDay is they have information about specific test providers and companies. So for example, if you know you're sitting a test prepared by SHL, they have a web page on those. And if, say, you're applying to Admiral Insurance, they have a specific page for Admiral's numerical reasoning test as well. So it's a great website, and we'll see some of those questions later in the video. Let's go over some practical advice for sitting these tests. So first up, a lot of these tests are multiple choice, and if there's no penalty, then guessing is better than leaving the question blank. Even if there is a penalty, but you've eliminated, say, 3 of 5 options, it can often be worth making a guess and taking that 50-50 chance. Also, don't be afraid to move on from a question and making a guess if there's no penalty. It can net you more marks. So if you need to average 1 minute per question, but you look at a question and you think this is going to take me 3 minutes because I hate ratios or whatever, then it may be worth making a guess and moving on and spending that time on another question if that's possible. So in a multiple choice test, eliminating options can be quicker than directly working out the maths. Next up, whenever possible, you should use a calculator you're familiar with. So make sure you know how to efficiently use your own calculator, or if you can, the type of calculator that you're going to be provided with. So for example, can you find the button that will convert fractions into a decimal? So if you're given 7/2, you need to be able to find the button, which normally looks like this S and then a double arrow with a D, standing for standard to decimal conversion. And then that will turn this into the decimal 3.5, for example. What about if you want to find the third or fourth power of a number? You might want to find, for example, 5 cubed. Do you know which button you use for custom exponents or indices? And it's normally the one that looks like this. There'll be an X and then a blank box, and it will let you fill in the blank box, basically. So make sure you can find these 2 buttons. We find that when we run these workshops in person, a lot of people will call us over just to ask these questions. And in a test, there won't be someone you can ask these questions to, so make sure you prepare. Next up, brushing up on your mental maths can save you a lot of time. So knowing some shortcuts for common percentages is a good example of how mental maths can save you some time. If you want to find 1%, that's the same as dividing by 100. 10%, divide by 10. 25%, divide by 4. 33.3 recurring percent, that's the division by 3. And most people know if you want to find 50% of something, you can divide it by 2. Next up, briefly check your answers. What's the units? Does your answer make sense? If you've been asked to calculate an increase, is your answer larger than the original number? Have you converted to the right currency? If you're given something in dollars, but the answer needs to be in euros, then you need to find the conversion and make sure you do that before you submit your answer. And finally, learn about the format of your test and practice in similar conditions. So, are you going to be given 20 minutes to approach 20 questions, or are you going to be set 20 questions with a 1 minute time limit on each? Those are very different scenarios and you'll need to prepare accordingly. Also, make sure that the day of the test isn't the first time you've sat a test under those test conditions. So if you often pause and ignore the time and use Google to maybe Google up a percentage question or a ratio question, that's fine when you're practicing, but make sure you do at least one practice run where you deny yourself access to any of those resources that you won't have in the actual test. It means that when you sit the actual test, you'll be less anxious and you'll be more prepared. Finally, make sure you understand the requisite maths, then practice as much as you can. We've got a great number of links here for you to brush up on topics that commonly crop up in these sorts of questions. So we'll see percentages, ratios, exchange rates, compound interest, proportions, graphs and charts. Interpreting those is a really big part of these tests. Reverse percentages, which we'll go over in a second. And then just generally percentage questions. You need to be very comfortable with those. Now let's have a look at some worked examples. So in 2017, a company sold 240,000 cars, but in 2018, their car sales increased by 25%. How many cars did they sell in 2018? Pause the video, have a go at this, and then I'm going to show you 3 methods and then specify which method we recommend you use for these sorts of questions. Okay, so method 1, we can divide the 240,000 number by 100 to find 1%. We can multiply that by 25 to find 25%, and then we can add it on to reach the correct answer of 300,000. Now this method works, but it involves 3 calculations, so we'd really prefer a faster method. How about method 2? We can find 25% of 240,000 directly by multiplying by 0.25, equivalently dividing by 4, and then add this on to find the increase. Now this is faster and more practical, but it's still not the method we recommend you use. Method 3 does it all in one go. Calculate the increase directly by multiplying the original amount by 1.25. So this is the most effective as it involves only one calculation. It's only one thing putting into your calculator. So try to get comfortable using this method to calculate increases and decreases. Now we want to have a look at reverse percentages before we looked at worked example 2. So take the following question. I bought a sofa in a sale. It was 25% off and I paid £1,500 for it. What was the original price of the sofa? Pause the video and have a go at this, and then I'll talk you through how we should solve this. Okay, so the important thing to note is that in these questions, the change has already happened, and your job is to work out how to undo it. So, if we were calculating a 25% decrease, we might multiply by 0.75, where we're thinking of 0.75 as 1 take away 0.25, or 25%. So, as an equation, we have the original price multiplied by 0.75 is £1,500. So to reverse this 25% decrease, we should be dividing by 0.75. So if we divide both sides of this equation by 0.75, and then flip over the sides just so it looks a bit cleaner, we'll end up with 1,500 divided by 0.75 is equal to the original price, and then that's something we can put into our calculator, and we'll work out the answer is £2,000. When the change has already happened, you should be dividing by a multiplier. So let's put this to the test. We've got worked example 2 here. Back to our company, it sold 240,000 cars in 2017, but this was a 20% increase in sales compared to 2016. So how many cars did the company sell in 2016? Pause the video and have a go at solving this. Okay, so one method we could use, well, given that 240,000 is 120%, to find 1% we can divide by 120. Then we'll just need to finish by multiplying that by 100 to find 100%, and we'll reach the correct answer of 200,000. But we can do better than this using the method we just discussed. So we can directly reverse the change by dividing 240,000 by 1.2. This is the method we recommend you use. Remember, when the change has already happened, you should be dividing by the relevant multiplier. So in this case, it's 1.2 because we were told there was a 20% increase. So finally, if you have any questions about this video, please do email us at the address there. Remember to make use of the Maths Skills Centre. We're here to help you with maths and stats. Make sure you use the AssessmentDay tests which are available to you. There are ones that are free for everyone, and then some that you have access to because you're a member of the University of York. And remember that Careers is there to help you as well with psychometric tests, York Strengths, and much more. Thanks for watching.